Miracle on 34th Street. I know there's a 94 version of this with Mara Wilson. Maybe I'll watch that sometime, but not sometime soon. I read the synopsis and my understanding is it's about a guy who dresses up as Santa, and he plays the part so well that some people start to believe that he actually is Santa, and others just believe that he's crazy. Santa in the Polar Express used a whip, like an Aurora whip type of thing.
Allow me, will you? Allow me.
Wait, does Santa actually use a whip?
Don't mind if I show you, eh? No, sir. No. It's all in the wrist.
He actually uses a whip.
If you would... You've been drinking. You're a disgrace to the tradition of Christmas, and I refuse to have you malign me in this fashion. Disgusting. One of the men in your parade is not fit to receive...
What are you doing out of costume? Now get back and get dressed. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I thought you were our Santa Claus.
Your Santa Claus is intoxicated.
Stop that. What do you mean by drinking? You know it's not allowed.
A man's cold. A man's got to do something.
Warn you, I ought to take this case.
And I ought to, somebody, Judy, and get some black coffee.
I like this Santa.
Could you be Santa Claus? Have you had any experience?
Oh, a little.
So Santa actually uses a whip, huh? I never knew that. I never heard of that version. The only other time I've seen Santa use a whip was with the Aurora in Polar Express.
Wonderful. It's the best we've ever had. We didn't need any padding.
What?
Padding.
Oh, I just turned round and there he was.
I'm glad you turned round. I mean, I'm glad he was there. Just think if Mr. Macy had seen the other one.
Where's Susan?
She's watching the parade.
Oh, where? With whom?
With that Mr. Gailey who lives in the front apartment.
Looks like they're having no trouble with the baseball player.
He was a clown last year.
He certainly is a giant, isn't he?
Not really. There are no giants, Mr. Gailey.
What about the giant that Jack killed?
Jack? Jack who?
Jack Coo.
The Beanstalk.
I never heard of that.
You must have heard of that. You've just forgotten. It's a fairy tale.
Oh, one of those. I didn't know any fairy tales. No, my mother thinks they're silly.
Well, that baseball player certainly looks like a giant to me.
People sometimes grow very big, but that's abnormal.
I mean, she's not technically wrong there.
Hello, I'm Susan's mother.
Yes, I know. Won't you come in? Susie told me quite a lot about you.
What do you think of my parade?
It's much better than last year's.
Well, I hope Mr. Macy agrees with you.
I'm fond of Susie. Very fond. But I also want to meet you.
There goes Santa Claus.
Oh, don't even mention the name.
He's much better than last year's. At least this one doesn't wear glasses.
What you got against glass? I've seen versions of Santa's with glasses.
I see she doesn't believe in Santa Claus either.
A child.
No Santa Claus, no fairy tales, no fantasies of any kind.
Mother, I was thinking, we've got such a big turkey for dinner, and there are only two of us. Couldn't we invite Mr. Gailey?
I'm sure Mr. Gailey has other plans.
No, he hasn't. Have you?
Well,
Can I ask our eyes? Didn't I ask all right, Mr. Gailey?
That all depends.
Dinner's at 3.
Thanks. Susie, honey, that's just right.
Gee, that sure is an elegant costume.
Yes. I've had it for years.
Bum out of the one they gave you. But even that one's better than the one I wear.
You are?
Yeah, I play Santa Claus over at the Y near our block, see?
You enjoy impersonating me?
Oh, yeah. It makes me feel kind of good and important.
Before you go up on the floor, I just want to give you a few tips on how to be a good Santa Claus.
Go right ahead.
Here's a list of toys that we have to push, you know, things that we're overstocked on. Now, you'll find that a great many children will be undecided as to what they want for Christmas. When that happens, you immediately suggest one of these items. You understand?
I certainly do.
Imagine making a child take something it doesn't want just because he bought too many of the wrong toys.
I want to find it just like the big ones, only smaller. It has a rose. It's got 12 like one, and I won't do it in the house. I'll only do it in the backyard. I promise.
Macy's ain't got me. Nobody's got me.
Well, Peter, I can tell you're a good boy. You'll get your fire engine.
You wait over there. Mama wants to thank Santa Claus, too. I tell you, Macy's ain't got me. Nobody's got me.
You can get those fire engines at Schoenfeld's on Lexington Avenue. Only $8.50, a wonderful bargain. Oh, I keep track of the toy market pretty closely. Does that surprise you, sir?
Surprise me. Macy sending people to the store.
You might understand. You're a little girl that likes some skates. But of course you must get her the best. Now we've got skates, and they're very good too, but they're not quite good enough. You go to Gimbel's. They'll have exactly what you're looking for, I'm sure.
Pardon me, the guard said I should speak to you. You're the head of the toy department, huh?
Yes, madam, but at the moment...
Well, listen, I want to congratulate you and Macy's on this wonderful new stunt you're pulling. Imagine sending people to other stores. I don't get it. Why,
It certainly is.
You said it. Well, I'll tell you, I've never done much shopping here before, but I'll tell you one thing. From now on, I'm going to be a regular Macy customer.
There are 6 more women out there who want to thank you.
Not now.
Well, personally, I think it's a wonderful idea, too.
The point is, will Mr. Macy think so?
Well, they're becoming regulars, so...
Well, young lady, what's your name?
Susan Walker, what's yours?
Mine? Chris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus. Oh, you don't believe that, do you?
Don't cry. You have all day to see Santa Claus. Now, children, behave. This way, please.
What's the harm that can be done here?
Hello, Mother.
Hello, Susan. Hello, Mr. Gailey. I think you've taken up enough with this gentleman's time now. Come along, dear.
The explanation for this is all very simple.
He's a nice old man, Mother, and those whiskers are real, too.
Yes, dear. Many men have long beards like that. Susan, would you stand over here a minute? I want to talk to Mr. Gailey.
I wish.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's just that I couldn't see any harm in just saying hello to the old fellow.
But I think there is harm. I tell her Santa Claus is a myth, and you bring her down here, and she sees hundreds of gullible children, meets a very convincing old man with real whiskers. And by filling them full of fairy tales, they grow up considering life a fantasy instead of a reality. They keep waiting for Prince Charming to come along. And when he does, he turns out to be a...
We were talking about Susie, not about you.
There it is.
Well, young lady, what's your name?
I'm sorry she doesn't speak English. She's Dutch. She just came over. I told her you wouldn't be able to speak to her. But when she saw you in the parade yesterday, she said you were Santa Claus, as she calls you.
Hallo, ik ben blij dat je
There it
gekomen
is.
bent.
Oh, ben Santa Claus.
Ja, zeker. Zeg maar wat je zou willen hebben van Sinterklaas.
Dutch sounds like an English speaker making fun of the German language.
You said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker.
Come right in.
Hello there. Good to see you again.
It's nice to see you.
Would you please tell her that you're not really Santa Claus?
Well, I'm sorry to disagree with you, Mrs. Walker, but not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it.
What's your name?
Chris Kringle. I'll bet you're in the first grade.
Second.
May I have this gentleman's employment card, please?
Yes, Mrs. Walker. Here it is, Mrs. Walker.
Thank you.
What else do you do besides read?
Okay, what do we got? This Brooks Memorial Home of the Aged. As old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth. Wait. So he lives in a older people home. I forget the word is escaping me.
We have rested
Born in that home.
1/2 hour.
Oh, they held on it anyway. Not for plenty long enough.
I'm sorry, but we're going to have to make a change.
Change?
The Santa Claus that we had 2 years ago is back in town, and I feel that we owe it to
Have I
him.
done something wrong?
Yes.
Mr. Macy wants to see you immediately.
I've just been telling these gentlemen of the new policy you and Mr. Shellhammer initiated. I can't say that I approve of your not consulting the advertising department first, but in the face of this tremendous response on the part of the public, I can't be angry with you. Imagine Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbel's. Oh, but gentlemen, you cannot argue with success.
But
And I'm positive, Frank, that if we expand our policy, we'll expand our results as well. Therefore, from now on, not only will our Santa Claus continue in this manner, but I want every salesperson in this store to do precisely the same thing. I want to thank you two again, and in your Christmas envelopes, you'll find a more practical expression of my gratitude. And tell that Santa Claus I won't forget him either.
Yes, Mr. Macy.
Well, now she can't let him go.
He just assumed it was our idea, so I didn't... What's the matter?
I fired him.
Who?
Oh.
Santa Claus.
What?
He's insane, I tell you. We'll just have to hire somebody else and have him do the same thing.
No, you heard what Mr. Macy said. We've got to keep him.
Yeah.
But maybe he's only a little crazy, like painters or composers or some of those men in Washington. We can't be sure until he's been examined.
We could have Mr. Sawyer talk to him.
Of course. He's a psychologist. That's what he's paid for, to examine employees.
Yes.
You'll be here in the morning, then?
Certainly I will.
You see, Mrs. Walker, this is quite an opportunity for me. For the past 50 years or so, I've been getting more and more worried about Christmas. Seems we're all so busy trying to beat the other fellow in making things go faster and look shinier and cost less that Christmas and I are sort of getting lost in the shuffle. And I'm glad I met you and your daughter. You two are a test case for me. You're sort of the whole thing in miniature. If I can win you over, there's still hope. If not, then I guess I'm through.
Miss Adams, would you get me the Brooks Memorial Home in Great Neck? It's a home for old people.
How much 3 times 5?
Oh, you asked me that before. You'll find the answer right there at the bottom of the...
I'm conducting this examination.
You're rather nervous, aren't you, Mr. Sawyer? Do you get enough sleep?
My personal habits are no concern to you.
Tied up in...
How many fingers do you see?
3. Oh, you bite your nails, too. You know, sometimes the cause of nervous habits like yours is not obvious. No. Are you happy at home, Mr. Sawyer?
That will be all, Mr. Crinkles. Examination's over. You may go.
Thank you.
Get me Mrs. Walker.
Yes, sir. And your wife's on 672. She says it's very important.
Agnes, how many times have I told you not to bother me at the office? Not a penny. I give you a liberal allowance, and it's up to you to run the house on it. If that fat, stupid brother of yours would get a job, you wouldn't have to be pestering me all the time.
I can't tell you how we appreciate your giving us your time, Doctor.
Wait.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I was going to call you today.
Oh, Dr. Pierce,
this
Mr.
is
Sawyer.
How do you do? How do you do? Mrs. Walker, after giving this man a comprehensive examination, it's my considered opinion he should be dismissed immediately. Oh, well, yes, he did, but there was complete lack of concentration. He kept changing the subject. He should be placed in a mental institution.
Oh, I don't agree, Mr. Sawyer. People are only institutionalized to prevent them from harming themselves or other people. Now, Mr. Kringle is incapable of either. His is a delusion for good. He only wants to be friendly and helpful.
That's what I feel, too.
So he also believes that he is not totally sane, but he's not dangerous.
And I've found from experience that when a fixed delusion is challenged, the deluded is apt to become violent.
If you tell Chris there is no Santa Claus, I grant you he'll argue the point, but he'll not become violent.
His whole manner suggests aggressiveness.
I mean...
Look at the way he carries that cane.
I mean, at the beginning.
And he's never without it.
Surely you're not implying he'd use the cane as a weapon.
You, I ought to take this cane
And I ought to.
Naturally, I can't discharge this man. That's up to you. But you asked for my opinion, and I've given it to you.
What possible trouble could he get into?
All that's got to happen is for a policeman to ask him his name.
Well, you can prevent that very simply. There must be someone here at the store who could rent a room out to him. Then they could both ride to and from work together.
Let's see. Who could rent him a room?
You?
Well,
Your son's away at school. What about his room?
But I'm positive Mrs. Shellhammer wouldn't like it. She's a little... Say, we always have martinis before dinner. I'll make them double strength tonight. I'll bet after a couple of them she'll be more receptive to the idea. You take him home to dinner, and I'll call you as soon as my wife's past feeling gets.
Oh, no,
Now, really, Mrs. Walker, if I am willing to let my wife have a big headache in the morning, the least you can do is to have a little headache tonight.
But what sort of games do you play with the other children in the apartment building here?
I don't play much with them. They play silly games. Like today, they were in the basement playing zoo and all of them were animals. When I came down, Homer, he said, "What kind of an animal are you?" And I said, "I'm not an animal, I'm a girl."
But the other children were only children, and they were pretending to be animals.
But that's what makes the game so silly.
Oh, I don't think so.
That's the point. You're a child. Be silly.
Do you know what the imagination is?
Oh, sure, that's when you see things, but they're not really there.
That's a hallucination.
Oh, that can be caused by other things, too. No, to me, the imagination is a place all by itself. How would you like to be able to make snowballs in the summertime? Eh? It's very simple. Of course, it takes practice. And the next time Homer says, "What kind of animal are you?" you tell him you're a monkey. No. Don't forget to scratch now. Put your tongue up. What's going on here? Oh, we're just having our first lesson in pretending. Mrs. Walker just happened to mention that they're looking for a room for you here in town. That's right. I'm all alone in my apartment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Twin beds, plenty of room.
Oh, this guy's poor wife.
If you'd like to move in with me, I'd be only too happy to have you. Well, that's awfully nice of you. It's a deal. Good. We'll drive out after dinner and get your things. Hey. Hello? It's a Mr. Shellhammer.
Thanks.
Oh, no.
Yes, just a moment. Mrs. Shellhammer wants to talk to you.
Hello? Hello? Why, we'd love to have Santa Claus come and stay with us.
Oh, no.
It's Mrs. Shellhammer, and they have the loveliest room, and they'd be so happy if you'd stay with them.
That's very sweet of them. Please thank them very much, but I'm going to stay with Mr. Gailey.
I think I'd better get the meat.
But there must be something you want for Christmas. Something you haven't even told your mother about, eh?
That's what I want for Christmas.
An entire
In a
house.
doll's house like this.
If you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me. And if you can't, you're only a nice man with a white beard, like Mother said.
Just because every child can't get his wish, that doesn't mean there isn't a Santa Claus.
That's what I thought you'd say.
But you've got this lovely apartment.
I don't think it's lovely. I want a backyard with a great big tree to put a swing on and...
Yeah, having your own house with your own property, that'd be pretty nice. Especially if you live in New York.
It's a tall order.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I'll do my best. You like living in Manhattan?
Well, that's all right. Of course, someday I'd like to get a place on Long Island.
Ah, this is how he's gonna do it. This is how he's gonna do it. He's gonna set these two up, then they're gonna move in together, and she's gonna get a house.
All my life I've wondered something, and now's my chance to find out. Does Santa Claus sleep with his whiskers outside or in?
Always sleeping them out. Cold air makes them grow.
Oh, it does? Is that a real thing?
Carry that brand, but I think Gimbel's does. Let me see.
I know a lot of stores do this nowadays too, where they send they don't have something, they send customers to another store that does have what they're looking for. Yeah, very
Yes, here it is. I thought I noticed it before.
And why didn't one of you think of this idea? It's the greatest goodwill policy I ever heard of. Well, two can play at this game. From now
So they're
on,
gonna
if
do
we
the same
haven't got what the customer wants, send him back to Macy's. And what's more, we'll do the same thing in our stores in Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh.
Spreading goodwill all over America.
Now we'll take some at my store.
Just a minute. This is just a little something to show my appreciation for all you've done.
I didn't think you were that generous. That's a bit of money. What are you going to do with it?
I have a friend, a doctor. He needs an X-ray machine.
Oh, I don't think that's going to be enough. I better give you some...
I'll make up the difference.
Hello, Alfred.
Hello, Chris. Remember I was telling you how I like to play Santa Claus over at the Y on Christmas, and, well, I was telling that to Mr. Sawyer, see, and, well, he says that's very bad.
Why is it bad, does he say?
Oh, sure. He says that guys who dress up like Santa Claus, see, and give presents away, do it because when they was young, they must have did something bad, and they feel guilty about it. So now they do something they think is good to make up for it, see? It's what he calls a guilt complex.
How old are you, Alfred?
17.
Oh, my God.
17.
What do you mean bursting into my office like this?
I have great respect for psychiatry and great contempt for meddling amateurs who go around practicing it. Taking a normal, impressionable boy like Alfred and filling him up with complexes and phobias.
I think I'm better equipped to judge that than you are. The boy is definitely maladjusted, and I'm helping.
Maladjusted? You talk about maladjustment. Seems to me that the patient is running the clinic.
I won't set. Leave this office immediately.
There's only one way to handle a man like you. You won't listen to reason.
Deck his halls. He actually did it! He actually did it!
Mr. Sawyer, are you all right?
Look at that bump!
I didn't think he was actually gonna do it, wow. Oh, I really like this Santa.
I tell you, we were merely talking. But the moment I mentioned Santa Claus, the moment I attacked his delusion, he became violent. And you better have the examination right away, before he tells before Mr. Macy finds out.
Oh, yes. Oh, my, yes.
I won't do it. I can't do it. I've grown very fond of him, and this would be like coming out and telling him that I thought he was insane. This is going to hurt Chris very deeply, and I don't want to be the one to do it.
Mrs. Walker wanted me to tell you that we're going to take some publicity pictures this afternoon down at the City Hall. You and the mayor.
Good. Where to? Bellevue.
Bellevue.
Hello. Yes? Yes? Why, yes, we share an apartment together. Hello, Chris.
Fred.
Why'd you do it, Chris?
Why? Because the last few days I've had great hope. I had a feeling Doris was beginning to believe in me. And now I find out she was only just humoring me all the time.
But I just talked to her on the phone.
She didn't know anything about taking pictures with the mayor. That was Sawyer's idea.
Well, I'm glad of that. But why didn't she come to me and explain the whole thing?
She didn't want to hurt you. All right, she had doubts. Why not? She hasn't really believed in anything for years. You can't expect her to
Well, it's
suddenly...
not just Doris. There's Mr. Sawyer. He's contemptible, dishonest, selfish, deceitful, vicious. He's called normal, and I'm not. But if that's normal, I don't want it.
What happens to you matters to a lot of other people. People like me who believe in what you stand for. And people like Susie who are just beginning to. You can't quit. You can't let them down.
No, I suppose I shouldn't. But you'll get me out of this. You'll think of something.
It's not going to be easy, Chris.
Oh, it will be for you.
I'll do everything I can, Chris.
That's a lot of nonsense. Dangerous, my foot. Now, you get the case dropped tomorrow, or you might have another lump to match the one that Chris gave you.
Yes, Mr. Macy.
Mr. Gailey to see you, Your Honor. He represents Mr. Kringle. Your Honor, there seems to be undue haste in this case. I wish to protect my client's rights, as I'm sure you do. I request a formal hearing to which I may bring witnesses.
Monday morning at 10 o'clock.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
That man, I heard him say something about Mr. Kringle before. Who is he?
His name is Gailey, Kringle's lawyer. Probably grabbed the case to get some cheap publicity.
Publicity? Oh, we can't have that, Mr. Mara. As a matter of fact, Mr. Macy would rather drop the whole thing right now.
Well, it can't be done. It's too late now. Kringle has been examined by psychiatrists at a city hospital. It has to go through the regular routine.
No, Mr. Gailey, I represent Mr. Macy. My name's Sawyer.
Oh, so you're Sawyer?
Yeah, we're very anxious to avoid publicity of any kind.
Naturally.
So, if you would agree to put this matter through quietly?
You know, that's not a bad idea. You know, if I'm going to win this case, I'm going to have public opinion and plenty of it. And publicity's just the way to do it. Thanks, Mr. Sawyer.
I don't see what they're making such a fuss about. After all, he's an old man and...
How are you feeling lately, Henry? You look a little run down.
Why don't you go and see the doc? Take a few weeks off. Why should I?
Because this Kringle case is dynamite. Let some judge handle it that isn't coming up for re-election.
I'm an honest man, and nobody's going to hold it against me for doing my duty as I see it.
Good night, Terry. Good night, Alice.
Now, how about a great big kiss for Grandpa, Fine way to treat their grandfather. No hug, no kiss, no anything.
I don't blame them. Any man who puts Santa Claus on trial for lunacy.
Well, that does it.
See what I mean?
How long do you think this will take?
Maybe a week.
A week? He does.
Look, you don't think that lawyer's going to be stupid enough to let him admit anything, do you? He's naturally going to deny everything.
In the matter of Chris Kringle, Your Honor, the commitment papers are before you. Your Honor, please, I should like to call the first witness.
Mr. Kringle, will you take the stand?
Before you begin, Mr. Mara, I want to explain to the witness that this is a hearing, not a trial. You don't have to answer any questions against your wishes or even testify at all. Oh, I'll be glad to answer any questions I can.
Do you believe that you're Santa Claus?
Of course.
State rests, Your Honor.
I believe he was employed to play Santa Claus. Perhaps he didn't understand the question correctly.
Oh, I understood the question perfectly, Your Honor.
In view of this statement, do you still wish to put in a defense, young man?
I do, Your Honor. I'm fully aware of my client's opinions. In fact, that's the entire case against him. Mr. Kringle is not sane because he believes himself to be Santa Claus.
An entirely logical and reasonable assumption, I'm afraid.
It would be if the clerk here, or Mr. Mara, or I believed that we were Santa Claus. You believe yourself to be Judge Harper, yet no one questions your sanity because you are Judge Harper.
Mr. Kringle is the subject of this hearing.
And if he is the person he believes himself to be, just as you are, then he's just as sane.
But he isn't.
Oh, but he is, Your Honor.
Is what?
I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Hello.
Sorry I'm late. Get your coat. I reserved a regular table at Luigi's. We're gonna celebrate.
Yes, I read that.
Oh, I didn't see this. Front page. Good.
You're not serious about this.
Of course I am. And either I drop this impossible case immediately, or they will drop me.
See?
I beat him to it. I quit.
Fred, you didn't.
Of course I did. I can't let Chris down. He needs me, and all the rest of us need him. And I promise you, if you believe in me and have faith in me, everything will...
Don't you see, it's not just Chris that's on trial, it's everything he stands for. It's
Oh,
kindness
Fred.
and joy and love and all the other intangibles.
Oh, Fred, you're talking like a child. You're living in a realistic world, and those lovely intangibles of yours are attractive but not worth very much. You don't get ahead that way.
That all depends on what you call getting ahead. Evidently, you and I have different definitions. Someday you're going to find out that your way of facing this realistic world just doesn't work. And when you do, don't overlook those lovely intangibles.
Mr. Macy, if you recognize the gentleman seated there, will you tell us who he is?
Chris Kringle.
Your employee, is he not?
Yes.
Do you believe him to be truthful?
Yes.
Mr. Macy, you're under oath. Do you really believe that this man is Santa Claus?
Well, I do. Psychologist. Where'd you graduate from? A correspondence school? You're fired.
There it is.
He's now ruling on what testimony I may introduce.
Your Honor, we request an immediate ruling from this court. Is there or is there not a Santa Claus?
The court will take a short recess to consider the matter. The question of Santa Claus seems to be largely a matter of opinion. Many people firmly believe in him. Others do not. We should hear evidence on either side.
He's crazy too. Your Honor, the burden of proof for this ridiculous contention clearly rests with my opponent. Can he produce any evidence to support his views?
If Your Honor please, I can. Will Thomas Mara please take the stand?
Who, me?
Thomas Mara, Jr.
Hello, Daddy.
Do you believe in Santa Claus, Tommy?
Sure I do.
What does he look like?
There he is, sitting there.
Why are you so sure there's a Santa Claus?
Because my daddy told me so. Didn't you, Daddy?
You believe your daddy, don't you, Tommy? He's a very honest man.
Of course he is. My daddy wouldn't tell me anything that wasn't so. Would you, Dad? Goodbye, Daddy.
I'll really put them on the spot there. Way to go for the throat. Damn.
Your Honor, the state of New York concedes the existence of Santa Claus. But in so conceding, we ask that Mr. Gailey cease presenting personal opinion as evidence. I therefore request that Mr. Gailey now submit authoritative proof that Mr. Kringle is the one and only Santa Claus.
Mr. Gailey, are you prepared to show that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus on the basis of competent authority?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Well, I guess that's that.
There's a way, Alfred. There's got to be. You see, they're having, well, sort of a trial about him. It's just because he says he's Santa Claus.
But I've got a feeling he is Santa Claus, Mother.
Some people don't believe that.
Then I'm going to write him a letter right now and cheer him up.
Hey, Lou! Come here.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a new one. Here's a kid writes, Chris Kringle, New York County Courthouse. Can you beat that?
The kid's right. They got him on trial down there.
Hey, Lou, how many Santa Claus letters we got down at the dead letter office?
I don't know. There must be about 50,000 of them.
It'd be kind of nice to get rid of them, wouldn't it, huh?
Yeah, but... Hey, that's a wonderful idea.
What did Milbrooms ever do with the letters to Santa, I wonder?
Chris, I'm afraid I've got bad news for you. I've tried every way to get some competent authority.
This is worth more to me than all the governors and mayors in the world.
It's all over, George. Look at him. He hasn't got a thing.
Big ol' sack of letters to Santa.
The defense has yet to offer one concrete piece of evidence to substantiate this preposterous claim.
Mr. Gailey, have you anything further to offer?
Yes, I have, Your Honor. I'd like to submit the following facts and evidence. It concerns the Post Office Department, an official agency of the United States government.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the United States postal laws and regulations make it a criminal offense to willfully misdirect mail or intentionally deliver it to the wrong party. Then, Your Honor, I want to introduce these pieces of evidence.
I'll take them, please.
I have here 3 letters. They're addressed simply Santa Claus.
I understand the post office receives thousands of these letters every year.
I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be very happy to see them.
Yes. Produce them, Mr. Gailey. Put them here on my desk.
But, Your Honor...
Put them here on the desk.
On his desk.
Yes.
50,000 at least.
Every one of these letters is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office has delivered them. Therefore, the Post Office Department, a branch of the federal government, recognizes this man, Kris Kringle, to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Since the United States government declares this man to be Santa Claus, this court will not dispute it. Case dismissed.
So?
Chris.
I had to wait to tell you. I got your note. It made me very happy.
Would you like to come to dinner tonight?
Tonight? I can't. It's Christmas Eve.
Oh, I forgot.
Bye.
So is he actually the real deal, or is he just some dude? Or is it left up to interpretation?
Yes, sir.
But there are lots of presents there for you, darling.
Not the one I wanted. Not the one Mr. Kringle was going to get for me.
What was that?
I'm sorry, Susie. I tried my best, but...
You couldn't get it because you're not Santa Claus, that's why. And I shouldn't have believed you.
I was wrong when I told you that, Susie.
But he didn't get me that. That doesn't make sense, Mommy.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
Huh?
Because the lawyer guy, he's gonna get a really good commission for this, right?
Thank you.
Now, if you'll go this way, you'll miss a lot of traffic. I've written it all down. You see, you go along Maplewood until you come to Ashley.
There it is. Because they're gonna marry, and he's got a nice house. He gets a nice house, and that's how he does it.
Stop, Uncle Fred, stop!
Susie, where are you?
I'm upstairs!
Calm right down. You know you shouldn't run around in other people's houses. You know better than that.
But this is my house, Mommy. My room upstairs is just like I knew it would be. Oh, you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Where are you going?
To see if there's a swing.
The sign outside said it's for sale. We can't let her down. I'd take a little old man and legally prove to the world that he's Santa Claus. Now, you know that.
Oh, no, it can't be. It must have been left here by the people that moved out.
Okay, so that was Miracle on 34th Street, and I really, really like that. That was a good movie. I really like this Santa. He just... I didn't actually expect him to strike the guy. He just actually went for it. That was hilarious. I don't really have anything else to say about it.